Hi, if you've ever had a passing interest in mythology, or India, or old stories, or even long stories, then there's a good chance you've heard of something called the Mahabharata. It's the world's longest poem, roughly 5 times the length of the Bible, and honestly one of the coolest pieces of literature humans have ever produced. At a very high level, it's a story of a succession struggle between two sets of cousins, but that summary doesn't do justice to all the exciting politics, espionage, battles, and philosophy that's contained within. If you've ever wanted to read it, but didn't want to devote the 3 40-hour work weeks necessary to do it, then you've come to the right place. This is a long story short, and we're about to summarize India's greatest epic. Instead of starting way at the beginning, let's start with the legend himself, Bhishma, considered by many to be the greatest warrior of the epic, and the great uncle to our protagonist and antagonist. His dad, King Shantanu, fell in love with the goddess Ganga, the personified human form of the actual river in India. The two eventually married, but only after Shantanu promised to never question Ganga, a promise that Indian wives still ask their husbands to make to this very day. Trust me, I should know. Shantanu and Ganga had 8 sons back to back, and Ganga drowned 7 of them successively. But before she could kill the last one, Shantanu couldn't help but break his promise and ask why in God's name would she ever do that? Turns out she promised some angels to kill them as soon as they incarnated on Earth so they wouldn't have to stay long, but the last one wasn't so lucky. Instead of killing her last son/former angel, she took the baby away and raised him to be the greatest warrior the world ever knew, aka Bhishma. But for right now he was just called Devavrata. At just 16, he was capable of defeating most armies single-handedly, was the best archer around, and had a stockpile of celestial weapons, each with the power of a nuke. Ganga returned him to his dad Shantanu when he turned 16, but then left again. Shantanu was happy to see his son, but felt empty without a wife. So he fell in love with a new woman named Satyavati, and surprise, surprise, she asked him to make a promise before he married her. Satyavati was a single mom who already had a son out of wedlock. This son, coincidentally, is Vyasa, the person attributed with writing this epic. Satyavati asked Shantanu to promise only her children with him would inherit the throne, thereby cutting Devavrata out of the picture. Shantanu couldn't bring himself to do that to his only son, so he refused and left broken-hearted. Devavrata, upon hearing what his father did, accepted on Shantanu's behalf and made a vow to relinquish the throne, remain celibate, and always serve the future king's lineage. This earned him the name Bhishma, meaning the one who took a terrible vow. Now that we set up the big man on campus and the already contentious throne, we can move on to some kidnapping, vengeance, death, and ancient surrogacy in the next part. Yes, this was a very long setup with a lot of family drama, but I promise from here on out, the story gets better with battles, politics, and even the divine wrath of God. See you on the next Long Story Short.